Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about recruiting experienced agents. My name is Derek Thorvaldson. I'm a director here at RE/MAX of Western Canada, and I've recruited a few experienced agents in my time. Back when I was recruiting, we didn't really have people with new licenses joining RE/MAX. It was all experienced agents. So rely on some of that years ago knowledge, but I want to take this from a little bit of a different perspective than what you may normally have. I mean, recruiting experienced agents is a massive subject. And a lot of you have recruited dozens of experienced agents, so you're quite knowledgeable in that respect. I mean, frankly, it's the sine qua non of a thriving brokerage. I mean, it's just essential that you recruit and retain your experienced agents. So if you're going to continue expanding on that, on a base of those agents, I mean, that's what's critical to an office. And the most critical driver of sustainable growth is expanding your base of loyal customers. And Paul Welding, one of my favorite quotes is that the most critical driver of sustainable growth is an expanding base of loyal customers who are willing to pay a premium price. So I want to take a look at this project topic, or approach this topic from a different perspective than we usually take when we consider recruiting experienced agents. We'll discuss why agents don't move, and hopefully some of the ideas will help you with retention. In today's session, we're going to start by talking about agent loyalty, why an agent will stay with their broker, and whether that is you or a competitor. And then we'll talk about what you can do to attract experienced agents to your office. So let's start by asking ourselves, so why does anyone quit their job? Your staff people, employees, in any market, in any place. And the first reason is that they feel that they're underappreciated. If the only time you speak to an agent is when their bill's not paid, trust me here, that's one time when a broker always is speaking to their agent, chances are they're going to feel underappreciated. Agents need to feel valued, and not just annually, when you give out awards. I recently posted on the Broker Owner Facebook page, Randall Stutman, talking about fanness. And if you haven't had an opportunity to go look at that or watch that video, I really encourage you to do so. This is some quotes from the Knowledge Project. And what he was saying there is the difference between someone that doesn't have a vested interest and a fan is a fan keeps great news alive. And so when you are giving awards, and we're coming up into award system, don't just hand them an award at award ceremony. Have your staff go into Photofy and create some images that they can post on social media. I mean, what you want to do is keep the news alive, document it, write them a letter, write them a personal note, tell them that you really appreciate them being at their office, and by the way, congratulations on your award-winning year. I mean, last year was a tough year, and thankfully we had a great fall market. But let's recognize that you guys it started off with a lot of unknowns. We want to congratulate you on what you did achieve in a above and beyond the call of duty in some respects. So, constantly ask yourself, what would a fan do of this sales associate? And make sure that they're not underappreciated. The second reason why people leave is they don't see themselves as part of the vision of the office, part of the purpose or the values. People need to believe in the why of what you do. Giving people a why is motivational, inspirational. Of course, the difference between motivational and inspiration is you can motivate with sticks, do it or else. But you want to inspire your sales associates. So start by getting to know them and know your agent's strengths and weaknesses. Ask them, what do people get wrong about you? really get into the heart of your sales associates. Get them involved on committees and social groups and teaching new agents. And that's just not, if I keep them involved, by keeping them involved, you're helping them grow. And their development must be seen as your why. I mean, why are they working at your office? It's not because you have a pretty secretary. It's because of you. You're the key person, and uh, their development has to be your purpose and your why. So, making sure that they're part of the vision. Another reason why people leave offices or in any situation is there isn't a long-term plan. For employees, this would be in the form of opportunities for advancement or for promotion. But for agents, it's opportunities to learn, grow, and build their business. It's important for brokers to know agents' goals and aspirations, part of the business planning project. So, ask your agents, what is your short-term priority? Because short-term priorities determine long-term outcomes. And, as Jim Collins has famously said, if they have three priorities, they have no priorities. So what you're trying to do is get them to focus on what are they doing in the short term. And then you as a broker and a manager and as, a keen observer of the real estate should be, helping them, making sure that their priorities are what they should be doing and helping them with that. Another reason why people leave companies is they're working with C players or they're surrounded by C players. It's fine to be king of the anthill, but that wears thin. Agents want to compete against A players. That's how they grow, and that makes their achievements that much more salient. It's a huge strength of RE/MAX offices, and you want to promote it. I know that a lot of agents from other offices get intimidated by the fact that agents do well. And what you want to be doing is when you're talking to them is just encouraging the fact that they shouldn't be intimidated by it. They should, you're a believer in them reaching that potential, and that they're not going to do it by being king of the anthill back where they are, and that they should be working with A players because that's where they learn and that's where they grow. And another reason why people leave offices is, frankly, and the number one reason is, frankly, poor management. The old saying is people don't leave companies, they leave managers. And this can be personality, but it's more likely due to the culture that you've created. When you're looking at all the reasons that we've talked about, you come up with the thought that people quit based on the business culture. It just isn't meeting their needs. So those are some of the reasons why agents move. Now let's talk about why an agent will stay with their broker, whether that is you or with your competitors, even when it's arguably in their best interest to move. So why are agents loyal, or asked a different way, why don't agents move? And we're going to get to it in a minute, but specifically we're going to talk about loss aversion and the endowment effect. Many agents have a bias to the status quo. Why is that? And how do you as a broker overcome it? So let's start by taking a look at agent loyalty. What are the critical factors in developing loyalty with your sales associates? So every broker experiences churns, agents joining and leaving. Agents leave for many reasons. I mean, there's retirement, there's other careers, but as a broker, you need to focus on why agents transfer to other brokerages. The cause of their leaving may reveal an issue that you have to address. For example, if an agent leaves to go to a discount brokerage, was that agent taking advantage of the training to improve their production? If money is an issue only in the absence of value, why did they perceive a lack of value in the services that you're offering? If the agent leaves due to a breakdown in your relationship, then you have to ask, what expectations was the office not fulfilling? What was the competitor offering that the agent didn't feel that he or she was getting at your office? Are you recruiting too many inexperienced agents without providing the tools and services and resources to help them launch their careers. And as you know, we've got some information on inexperienced agents. So, but you have to keep a balance, as we saw from, having too many C players. A high churn rate is often a symptom of deeper issues that need to be resolved. They can be low morale, lack of recognition, poor relationships, sales slump, other causes. But it's a reflection of the agent's perception of the value the brokerage offers. These agents do not feel they have a compelling reasons to stay with you. They found a better alternative. And if it was due to an incident, how could you have handled it differently or better? So every broker wants loyal agents. So it's important to know what makes an agent steadfast. I mean, knowing this allows you to take the necessary steps to retain your agents. It also tells you what to look for when you're recruiting from competitors. There are three factors, in my view, when establishing loyalty. One is relationship strength. The deeper your relationship with your agent, the less likely they are to leave. So traditionally, you will rely on retention activities, things like recognizing agents, giving awards, having office meetings and gatherings, using social media, activities that will make the agent feel they're a welcome part of the office. Staff can be absolutely critical in this respect. But however, getting back to my original point, it is your responsibility. They didn't join because of your staff. They joined because of you. So it's your responsibility to make sure that relationship is solid. They need to be developed through consistent contact and by understanding the agent's needs and caring about their concerns. Now, perceived alternatives. Your office has to meet or exceed the agent's perceived value of alternatives. I mean, this is the example I like to use is the BlackBerry. We all liked the BlackBerry, but we no longer have BlackBerries. We moved to iPhones and Samsungs and what have you because of the perceived value of alternatives. Meeting or exceeding alternatives is done by constantly innovating and developing a competitive advantages. Service level expectations are always changing because the market is always evolving and new improved services are always being offered. And through your presentations and discussions, you need to ensure that you know the agent's expectations and that you're meeting them. Obviously successful agents are heavily recruited. And so, if the competitors constantly barraging them with their value proposition and the superior offered alternatives that they think they're offering, but there are no patents on services. So we like to say that you don't steal ideas, you mastermind, you look for best practices, and that's the broker's obligation to always make sure that they're keeping up and with new services and product offerings and new competitive advantages. And then critical episodes. You have to ensure critical episodes are handled appropriately and they arise from time to time. You may not be able to solve the problem, but you need to make sure that you're offering assistance and caring about their concern. Because conflicts arise in even the most well-run brokerages. Agents have run-ins with other associates, with staff. They have agents, they run into problems with agents in other companies. They have transaction problems and customer complaints, and this is all stuff that you know about. Often the critical episode is financial. An agent goes into a slump. They can't pay their bill. They're under stress from home. How you handle these problems will determine whether your agents will stay or go. Now, what you do or how you react and what you say is going to be watched by staff and other agents. It defines, frankly, who you are. It becomes part of the office culture, what acceptable behavior is or what the standard is. So acting appropriately and consistently when these problems makes the correction much more likely and heads off the need for termination. Maya Angelou, of course, said this best when she said, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So again, it's your response to these problems that will determine an agent's attitude. Agents will leave based on if they go into a slump or if they can't pay their bill. And so you have to make those determinations. Are they doing the work? Are they putting the effort in? And how you handle that, for instance, is going to be hugely determinative. So when does loyalty terminate? Loyalty terminates or weakens when the relationship weakens, when better alternatives become available. Of course, as a RE/MAX sales broker, you're of course going out to these agents from other companies and saying, yeah, a better alternative has become available. If critical episodes are handled poorly, and again, you're watching what other companies are doing, and if they run into, agents run into problems with their brokers, you got to be aware of them. If the customer no longer needs a service, if the customer obviously moves away, and unexplained changes in price. So anytime that you're changing your fee schedule, you need to offer an explanation. Knowing these factors will help you with retention, but they're all, like I say, key principles to keep in mind when recruiting experienced agents. So there's another quote that I think is interesting. There is a weak and sometimes non-existent relationship between customer satisfaction or repurchase or retention. I think you have to keep that in mind, that again, it's the BlackBerry example. You may be satisfied, but that's not going to keep you loyal as a customer. So when expectations change and service levels don't, agents are vulnerable to making a move. So you've got to constantly be innovating. Now that we know why an agent is loyal, let's take a look at recruiting. And just pardon me for 2 minutes while I give you Derek's philosophy on what is recruiting. Recruiting is the art of persuading an agent on the merit of joining your office. You are selling a service, so you must believe in the value of the service that you're offering agents. Selling is the art of transferring that belief into the mind of the recruit. So recruiting is determining the needs of the agent and demonstrating how your service meets those needs. Agents are attracted to brokers who are passionate about what they do. Brokers who demonstrate they care about their agents. This is revealed in your culture. It's one of collaboration. It's revealed in the values and beliefs that you articulate and hold on to. They want to, as we talked about earlier, they want a broker with a vision. They want to be part of something and to play a part in building something bigger than themselves. I always found that when I was interviewing experienced agents, when they would come and sit down, when I started talking about what I was trying to build in that office, they started paying attention. I used to go on and on about all the great things RE/MAX had to offer, and that pretty much put them to sleep. But they were interested in where, what the vision was of that office. That's why it's important to have a mission and vision and values and beliefs. They say in elections that voters will always choose the most optimistic candidate. People want leaders with a positive outlook. Remember, you're talking to them for a reason. They're talking to you for a reason. They're not happy and they're looking for something better. So smile. Okay, so you're probably thinking, hey, Derek, I'm passionate about my office and I've got a vision and I'm optimistic. I've even been known to smile on occasion. So why do I have these empty offices? So let's talk about that. And we'll examine it from the viewpoint of the agent you are trying to recruit. So I want to talk about loss aversion. As a broker owner, you believe that the prospect will make more money and have more opportunities if they work at your brokerage. The prospect likes you, appears to trust you. So why doesn't the agent move? There are some reasons, many reasons why an agent doesn't like moving. It disrupts their business. It can be expensive. It can be time consuming advising customers to the new brokerage. And in addition to the move itself, they may lose established relationships. with the associates and staff of their present office. But it may come down to two factors: loss aversion and the endowment effect. So loss aversion refers to people's tendency to strongly prefer avoiding losses to acquiring gains. For example, if you were to gamble on a toss of a coin, tails you lose $100. Heads you win $120. Is that gamble attractive, and would you accept it? For most people, the fear of losing $100 is much more intense than the hope of gaining $120. For many people, you have to offer twice the benefit. In the example I'm showing here, like $200. Fear of losing is much stronger than the happiness of winning. The higher the stakes, the higher the fear. It is a fact. Professional golfers will putt better to save par than they do to make a birdie. Some studies suggest losses are twice as powerful psychologically as gains. So this was first examined by Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman when they developed their prospect theory, and it demonstrated that losses bite 2.25 times more than equivalent gains. So loss aversion is also a reason, an explanation for the endowment effect. The fact that people place a higher value on a good they own than an identical good that they don't own. We tend to overvalue our possessions because they can be part of who we are. They're part of our identity. This is why companies let you use their products and services on a free trial basis. When you go to buy a new car, take it for a test drive, keep it overnight. The more time that you spend with the product, the more attached you become, and the sense of ownership is created, and you become reluctant to give it up. Now, Daniel Kahneman, in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow, uses the example of condo sales in Boston during a downturn in the market. What a buyer pays for their unit should not impact the sale price, because sale price is determined by the market. However, the sellers that paid more for the units and thus faced a higher loss when it came to selling it spent a longer time trying to sell it and eventually did receive a higher sale price. You, as a broker owner, have experienced this in two fashions. If you've ever gone into a slump in the market and then tried to get people to pay out of equity, and people don't mind paying commissions out of appreciation in the value of their home, but boy, try to get them to pay out of their own dollars and cents out of their salary, and you are into a whole different conversation. People don't like taking losses. In the same fashion, if you have agents and they're paying their bill, they don't mind paying bills out of commissions, but try to get them to dip into their savings to pay their bill, and you're into a different conversation. At that point, they're vulnerable to the first broker that comes along and says, I'll give you 3 months free. So yeah, there's a huge difference when it comes to loss aversion and this endowment effect. If an agent feels they have ownership in their current office, if they feel they have good relationships, they're treated well, their friends and customers identify them as a company A agent, they're very difficult to recruit. Now think about an agent who leaves the business for a time. Much, much easier to recruit an agent who is coming back into the business or who went somewhere and was unhappy. Once they've left that environment, they're no longer endowed to their previous office and much more opening to moving to your office, any office which offers more utility, that's i.e. better services and benefits. So an agent is always judging a move to your office as a plus or minus relative to where they are. And the disadvantages of a change will loom much larger than advantages. And that introduces a bias that favors the status quo. So how do you overcome the endowment effect? Well, research has shown that customers of clothing stores are much more willing to purchase an item of clothing after they've tried it on. The more you can do to make your prospect feel a part of your office, the easier it will be for them to move. The more of your agents they can meet, the more you can invite them to be part of events, the stronger the communication through vehicles like social media, the stronger your relationship will be, and the easier it will be for them to make a move. I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago, I had an agent give me a call here at the region, which is different. And the agent didn't want to discuss the benefits and services he would receive by moving to RE/MAX. His only concern, Derek, is the technology is equivalent to what's at my current office? It was all about what he feared he would lose by making a move. So loss aversion tells us that agents are very concerned about any potential loss of business. Your job then is to make the recruit understand this will not be an issue. You might ask, how much of your business was generated from leads from your current broker? You could put this another way. For example, if your office is generating leads, then that agent is losing opportunities, sales opportunities, by not being part of your office. So turn it into what they're losing, because agents don't move for fear of loss. You need to have statistics on agents that have moved in the past and the effect it had in their business in subsequent years. In other words, and do you have a plan? By having a plan they can implement after a move, you will lessen the prospect's fear. The whole purpose is to ensure a smooth transition and no loss of business. If there is a system that the agent can follow, they'll feel much less threatened than being on their own. Do you have a transition plan? I mean, can you show it to them? The plan I'm showing on this screen is just a highlighted one from the Momentum program, but you have to have some sort of plan because once you get them stepping through the plan, now you've got them. So these are two factors, a plan and statistical evidence that may overcome this objection. Again, agents needs to know you as a recruiter need to know that fear of loss is much stronger than happiness of winning. If your office is averaging 20 sales per associate and the agent you're trying to recruit is generating 10, then why don't they immediately sign up? Don't they trust the figures? I mean, RE/MAX, we promote the fact that our agents do more transactions than any of our competitors, and yet agents aren't flocking to RE/MAX to take advantage of this fact. Why? It could be they assume the fact that we have some great agents who do a lot of business does not mean that they will as well. You need to demonstrate how they will generate more transactions. If you go to a camera shop to buy a camera and the seller said, "This is my best-selling model," do you buy it? You'll be interested in the fact, but it begs the question, why is it your best-selling camera? Does it fit my need? I mean, a good seller will ask, well, what kind of pictures are you taking? You ask questions. If your agents produce more, why? And how does that apply to my business? You need to take a deep dive into the agent's business and explain how RE/MAX tools will enhance their business. A couple of questions from the Momentum program that you can ask, like, what's the most important activity in your business? What's your biggest challenge with that activity? And so your follow-up should focus on solutions to their challenges. The emphasis is on gains if they move and losses if they stay where they are. I want to show you a short video from Matt Van Winkle that I think articulates this point.
So I want to talk real quick about the secret to recruiting agents. So what's that secret? Stop talking. The secret to converting agents is the same as really as to providing value. You need to offer solutions that are specific to their problems. That's about it. But if you're offering solutions that aren't relevant, then you're losing them. And here's where most broker owners struggle. You aren't correctly identifying the agent's problems. We're not listening. Instead, we feature dump. We talk about all the great things we do, regardless of whether those things are relevant to the agent or their issues. And listening allows you to identify problems. That's really the only way. You've got to ask the right questions, and then you've got to listen with intention. Listening isn't just sitting quietly until it's your turn to talk again. Once you ask a question and it's the agent's turn to talk, you shouldn't already know what you're going to say next. If you already know what you're going to say, then that means that you're not listening to what they're saying. Each question, each next statement that you make should be based on the information that the other person just said. Because here's the next big thing. Most agents don't realize their problems or don't realize there are simple solutions to a lot of the problems that they face. Or they think that they're alone and they don't realize that everyone else is actually facing the same issue. They might think that certain struggles are just the cost of being in real estate, but really you know that there are solutions. You have to help them self-discover their needs, and you can only do that by listening with intention and then asking pertinent follow-up questions. Continually going down a path of discovery until you've really identified their needs, desires, and issues and determine how you can solve their problems. So when you're going through this process, a good rule of thumb is take a look at who's doing the talking. The recruit should get 75% of the time. You should only get 25%. If you're talking more than 25% of the time during a recruiting meeting, then you're not listening enough to really be able to help them. If you listen, you can help. If you can help, you can convert. So if you want to convert more, just stop talking.
What would a Derek webinar be without a video from Ed Van Winkle? So selling the opportunity to do business, you need to review, the reasons why RE/MAX agents generate more business. More leads from Lead Street, more office leads, fewer listings lost in competition, learning from better sales associates. In other words, you're selling your value proposition. And you need their focus to be on the upside. You want to turn that into a fear of loss, i.e. that, by not being at RE/MAX, you are forfeiting the ability to reach your potential. What would 4 or 5 deals mean to their lifestyle? Show them the dream, but then you need to show them the path to it. And then ask, why are they there for the interview if not to learn how to maximize their potential? When I first started recruiting, our fees are actually less than the competition. And the joke was that agents didn't join because they couldn't do math. The expectations was that an agent would seek to maximize their utility, i.e. if the services are better or equal than what is being provided where they are, then the price was less than to maximize the value, they should join, but they didn't. The fact is every agent comes at the recruiting process from a different perspective and reference point. And new agents starting a career in real estate have little to lose, and they are risk seeking. Their investment on entering the business is relatively small, and their hope is to gain much more. Veteran agents, experienced agents, on the other hand, are risk adverse. They have established careers, and they view gains in their business as being minimal and perceive any loss of business as a threat. It is not always about the money, though. A fear of loss may be in their friendships and relationships. And that is why being number 2 is such an asset. Because if the relationship weakens, those factors in loyalty we talked about, if the relationship weakens, you become a viable alternative. So let's talk about status quo. Your prospect is going to weigh the opportunity you present against remaining in where they are now. In other words, the status quo. This is their default position, one that they know with certainty and one that is very difficult to overcome, especially in one interview. They're going to view potential losses against potential gains, with the losses, as we've talked about with loss aversion, having far more weight. And there are examples of status quo bias everywhere you look. Remember the new Coke? The failure of new Coke, the difficulty it is to defeat an incumbent in an election. When you go to a restaurant and you order from a menu, you tend to pick the familiar. So when you couple status quo bias with loss, with the endowment effect, you have a recipe for doing nothing. And what you have to overcome is this bird in the hand, is you have to assign a cost to doing nothing. And I'm going to get into that when we finish off in a couple of minutes. I'm going to give you some things, a to-do list in meeting those problems. But why is the prospect meeting with you? Probably they aren't happy with the status quo, and you need to focus on 2 principles of motivation. One, that they want to improve their life, and two, that the sooner they join, the better, the sooner their life's going to improve. So by not joining now, they're losing time and staying in a situation they're dissatisfied with. How often have you heard agents after they join saying, well, I should have done this long ago? So you want to use those examples of agents who've regretted their agent, that they didn't move sooner. Okay, so let's reframe the default position. You want to convince other agents that leaving their present broker is not the default, but the default is to make the change. That is, when an agent joins your office from a competitor, that's why you contact agents at that office. You're basically going back to their old office and saying to those other agents, people are leaving, time to make a move. The other thing is that agents don't want to regret their decisions. So you need to know whether there's other influencers in their life. For instance, a spouse. Now you may, if you can get a spouse to an interview, they're not endowed. They don't have a vested interest in where in the current office in a lot of circumstances. So it pays to have them as part of the discussion, but it's not easy to, and in most cases, it's, you're not going to be talking to the spouse. But you have to understand that what you are saying is going to go back to that person. The agent, if they decide that they're going to contemplate a move, are going to have to justify it. So make sure that you're giving that agent talking points that they can use to justify their decision to the people like their spouse. You're going to say, you're joining RE/MAX? I mean, how are you going to, what does that mean to me and my lifestyle and our kids and all the rest of it? So you have to be giving them talking points. And you need to make sure that you're always focusing on the upside. So, prospects will overcome their status quo bias through knowledge and information. The more they learn about you and your brokerage, the more comfortable they're going to be about a move. There's always going to be some uncertainty, about how well they're going to do, how better off they're going to be. But you need to minimize this, and you do this by having a transition and onboarding plans. You need to give the prospect specific actions that you increase the chances of them moving forward by doing that. So here's your to-do list. Have a transition plan. The Momentum has a plan. We have, we've put out plans that you can get as far as transitioning. When they come and join your office, have a, show them, we have a plan for you to come in to take advantage of our systems. Have a list of successful agent transitions. Show, Sam, Peter, Sally, June, they all joined our office. Here's what their volume was before. Here's what their volume is now. Here's how their commissions increased. Have it in writing. In fact, if you can, you would ask them to step in and talk to your prospect. Have a demonstrable system they can plug into. There is if you join my office, I'm going to put you into our momentum training, or the individual training you offer in the office. I mean, that's what Matt Van Winkle has. He has that full leverage program, but where you're going to tap into the business consulting and planning that we're doing. Have something that the agent knows that when they join your office, they're not going to be left on their own. They're going to be plugged into something. Have an onboarding system. At RE/MAX of Western Canada, we have an onboarding guide for all new agents. This is not for inexperienced agents. This is for everybody. If you want a copy of the onboarding guide, anyone that's attending this presentation webinar this morning, I'll send you a copy of the onboarding guide. It's like a 40 page guide that an agent that walks them through, signing up for all the different things that they need to do when they join RE/MAX. It's important to be able to demonstrate, show this to a prospect that you have a plan for them when they join your office. Have a value sheet where you list your competitive advantages and the possible transaction increases versus status quo. If by having access to Design Center, some of these tools, that should give you an extra half a deal a year. By having a great brand, so that when they go into an interview, there's less likely of them losing that business. by having a transaction comparison graph. I mean, here's what the average agent makes with CREA. Here's an average agent makes at the Calgary or Vancouver or Edmonton, Winnipeg Real Estate Board. Here's what the REMAX agent makes on average, 17.5 transactions. And here's what happens at my office, and there's reasons for this, as we talked about. Have a follow-up system. Agents aren't going to come on the first interview. So make sure that you have a follow-up system and focus that system on building a relationship. So ask them that you want to friend them on Facebook, put them into some CRM, put them on your mailing list. You need to have a follow-up system. And if you are generating leads, talk to them about how you generate leads. I mean, what system are you using? How many leads are coming into your office? And make sure it's transparent as to how leads get passed on to your sales associates. Is it, you have some sort of system as far as leads are concerned. So make sure that you're able to demonstrate to them, what happens with leads as they come in. Other factors that you need to be watching for, as we talked about, critical episodes. Anytime that you see an agent that's on your recruiting list, if they have a production decline, and we have access to statistics for agents for the past few years through IMS, where we can pull up, how many, what their production has been doing over the last few years. But you'll have a good idea yourself. So watch for agents whose production declines, or watch for agents if they run into conflicts. Obviously you don't want agents who run into conflicts with the council and what have you. You don't want to bring that into your culture. But if they have if they're running into conflicts, if they go into slumps and that they've got a good track record, watch for problems because that's when agents start looking around, is when they run into conflicts in their present office. And especially with your competitors, if they have any kind of management change, if they're starting to lose agents. If you look at what's happened with Home Life and Sutton and a number of our competitors over the last few years, their competitive advantage in market position has suffered, and they're losing agents as a result. And so now the default is not to stay, but to move. Watch their market share. Is it going down? You want to be aware of these things. Spouse involvement, whether or not, again, it's very difficult. They're probably not going to want you to be talking to your spouse, but remember that you have to articulate to them the reasons for the move, that they're going to have to go back and justify to a partner as to why they're doing this. So, at least volunteer to meet with their spouse and talk to them about it. So that's pretty much all I've got for you. Now I've got a final thought after this slide, which is that we still have the same fee waiver as last year, the new promotion code. Make sure you write that down. And for my final thoughts, as Zig Ziglar says, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. But I want to leave you with this thought. Every year, 10 to 15% of the agent population is going to change offices. You don't know what's going to trigger this, but you can make some wise assumptions. The first being it's going to be because of poor management where they are now. Concentrate your efforts on offices where you believe the management is weak. Take an objective look at your competition to determine their position in the marketplace. Like I say, some of our competitors, some of the brands out there have had a weakening of their position in the marketplace. Regional brands especially are without a strong position are vulnerable. Once you've made a connection with an agent, you need to keep the lines of communication open. If they like you and you have nurtured a great culture and image for your office, eventually they're going to come. That's all for me. I will, if you if you're in this interview, I will send you a copy of that guide. A couple of quick people have asked about the guide. So I will send that basically our own onboarding guide for you to take a look at and go through, and love to get your feedback. So thank you for listening. Until next time, keep healthy and keep safe, and it's been a pleasure. Bye, guys.